Hello, I'm John McTagg from Talking Blues. We're looking here at theme 3 of the kind of topics that you're likely to find when you attend your in-force interview, either after your assessment centre or occasionally before your main assessment centre. What we're going to look at now is the theme of ethics and integrity. You are likely to get questioned on this a number of times throughout your interview process. But what we are actually looking for is to get a clear sense from you that you understand what ethics are and why they're actually important. You should, as part of your research, have downloaded the College of Policing's Code of Ethics and Integrity. There are 9 elements to that code, ranging from politeness, fairness, and so on. And you don't need to know that in depth. You need to memorize all 9. You will not be asked to produce all 9. But you should be able to talk about that document for a minute or so, just so you can prove to the assessor that actually I have read it and I am aware of what's in it. So you'll have proved that there is a code of conduct. You'll have proved bits of it. That's great. But the panel will be interested in your views on why you actually need a code of conduct. Because we have the law of the land, which tells us what's right and what's wrong. We have the discipline code, which tells us how police officers have to abide by certain standards. So it's a logical question to ask, is there anything in the middle? What actually is the role of a code of ethics? And perhaps you might want to consider that because policing at times places one in an area of conflicting views, opinions and attitudes, where there are a number of views one could take and where standards of behaviour are likely to be upheld or viewed in certain lights. And maybe that's why we need a code of conduct and a code of ethics. For example, if you are out and about on patrol and you call into a petrol station and the manager of the petrol station gives you a free cup of coffee, is there a problem with that? Well, on the one hand, maybe not. On the one hand, what has happened here is it's a community interaction and the manager is just giving you a free cup of coffee because they're very supportive of your role as a police officer. And that's great. However, if you look at that from a different perspective, one could say that, well, while you're having that cup of coffee in that petrol station, why is that manager giving you that cup of coffee? And maybe it is out of the goodness of the heart, or maybe it's because they want you and your patrol car sat in their forecourt for 15 minutes. And maybe they know that because the rest of your shift know that there is free coffee to be had in that petrol station, the rest of your shift will turn up throughout the shift as well. So what that means is that for the investment that the garage manager is making in those free cups of coffee, they are getting an ad hoc security service which will pop in on a regular basis 24/7, 365 and provide a deterrent to anybody who's thinking of committing crime against that petrol station. If I was being pedantic, I could also argue that that petrol station owner is, by getting you to giving you a free cup of coffee, you're also more likely to fill up your Panda car there. Now, they may be the cheapest petrol station in the area, but the petrol station down the road is going to complain. And they're going to say, you only fill that Panda up because you got a free cup of coffee on that garage. And that's why we had a code of ethics to guide you through decisions like that, so that you can look at gifts, at behaviour, at evidence, at the way you deal with people, at the way you exercise your authority, and understand that there's a set of principles for you to actually abide by. And something that may be covered by the code of ethics might not be unlawful, might not be a crime, it might not be a discipline offence, but it guides your behaviour and your thinking. And those behaviours and that thinking, because of your unique role in policing society, has to be of a higher standard. And that's the importance of the code of ethics, and be able to articulate that, be able to explain that answer as to why you think those ethics are actually important. Linked question to that could well be, okay, so when have you had to change something that you found inappropriate? And you can't say, unless you're a fool, well, I've never once overheard some kind of inappropriate comment. I've never heard a joke that was racist, sexist, or homophobic. I've never been in an Indian restaurant and had somebody make an offensive comment. That's never happened to me. Because to be honest, I'd be absolutely astounded, or I'd think that he had a really sheltered life. So what we want to know is that you've got enough experience in life to have been around when those kind of comments have been made, And then we want to know your actions. We want to know that you're a man or woman enough to have challenged that comment. We want to know that you were able to explain to the individual why those comments were wrong. And we want to know that you did something positive about it. So an ideal example would be perhaps something in the workplace, or your work colleagues, maybe even a supervisor, has made an inappropriate comment. And what you've done is you've immediately challenged that comment in front of the group, and you have pointed out to the individual how wrong that comment was, whether it was racist, sexist, homophobic, how stereotypical and offensive it was, and you would ask them not to make that comment again. And you would then go and report that comment to a supervisor. And don't be fooled by an idea that does knock about sometimes that, well, that would be embarrassing to the person concerned, so I would speak to them later. Ultimately, the reason why such challenges are made in public is because you are setting an example. You are setting a clear standard for the rest of the group that you, as an individual, will not tolerate such behaviour. And that's the example that we are looking for from you in that kind of question. It could well get said to you, well, how did your colleagues react to you after that, especially if you've reported the manager? And that might have been a little bit awkward for you. We accept that. But because you've explained it to them so well, utilising your communication skills, hopefully what happened after that was the manager or the group came to you and said, actually, we're really pleased that you challenged the individual on that occasion, because the rest of us have always wanted to do that, but no one quite had the nerve to do it. So thanks very much, we really appreciate it. And that's setting your honesty and integrity clearly out for us to understand. And as a police officer, I have to say, that's what we expect you to do. A sub-theme on that could well be that you're out and about on patrol one night and you stop a relative for an offence, or someone you know. Yeah? And remember, with all of these questions, these are themes we're talking about. So the exact question might not be you stopped a relative, it might be someone you know. You stop a senior officer, you stop a member of the parliament, what would you do? Yeah, same principles apply. And what we're looking for from you in terms of ethics and integrity is for you to treat that person exactly how you would treat somebody who you didn't know. So, if you stop a car for speeding, and ordinarily that person would have got a ticket under the circumstances as they are known to you at the time, and when you stop the car, it's your cousin, then your cousin will get a ticket. If that person had been arrested for dangerous driving or drink driving or whatever, then we would expect to do the same to your relative. And depending on the circumstances, you might actually consider, if you're on your own, getting another officer to attend, so that there was a clear set of evidence for the panel that you would use the utmost integrity. But be conscious with that part about calling another officer in, that you are doing that in order to actually assist your integrity. If another officer wasn't available, ultimately you would arrest that particular individual. So you need to be very, very clear that ultimately, if it was you on your own, dealing with that relative, senior officer, important dignitary, whoever, you would act in exactly the same way as you would with a member of the public, and make sure you recorded your actions appropriately. You cannot treat people differently, and must not treat people differently, merely because of their status in life. And that's the ethics and integrity session. And it's a hugely important part of the service. And we have to believe that what you are saying here, you actually believe in. If we detect you are just saying this and you don't really believe it, or you think the police service always looks after itself, then to be honest, we will quite rightly fail you. Hugely important, ethics and integrity.